Welcome to the weekly. This is my attempt to do a vlog for you, and it is emerging out of all of the questions that I received during the week and the DMs that I received on my social media. I decided, well, let's try to do a weekly vlog and try to answer your questions to help you decide on what pieces you may want to start collecting. So that's how this all emerged. So this week's vlog, the questions that it's going to revolve around are dealing with the Mini. I think I posted a new Mini. Actually, this was the piece itself. I posted this in the latter part of this week. I think I posted it first thing one morning, and a lot of interest, a lot of response, and some questions emerging about minis. What are minis? What's the difference between the minis that are on Surface Design within reach and the minis that are on MatthiasStudios.com? So those are all great questions. So today I'm going to try to clear those issues up with you so that you can start collecting the Mini. So first of all, the minis that are on SDWRCO.com, that is Surface Design Within Reach Company. That site does have a Mini. That's actually this right here. And these are really great to collect. I think I touched base on these before when maybe last week when I was talking about our framing selections. These are framed a little differently than the ones that are on MatthiasStudios.com because I picked a larger frame, a thicker frame, so that you could stand them up. So what's the difference between the minis on Surface Design and the minis on Matthias Studios? The minis on Surface Design, SDWRCO.com, these minis are prints. They are not originals. Most everything on MatthiasStudios.com is an original in one way, shape, or form. The design site has all kinds of printed images on printed things. So the Mini on Surface Design is printed, that's a matte canvas, and then it's framed in a matte frame. So that's the difference. These are strictly prints, highly collectible because they are all signed and documented, and they're limited. They're limited prints. So, and actually they're the only limiteds that I now carry. So that's the difference between the two sets of minis. So let's move over to MatthiasStudios.com. I have 3 different types of minis on that site. Now these are all originals. Make that very clear, and that's why they're so collectible as artwork. It's all original art, and you know my theme about collecting original artwork. I want everybody to start collecting original artwork. I miss going into homes. I haven't been into somebody's home in over a year, but when I used to go into people's homes, when I walked in and I saw that they had original artwork throughout the house, it would blow me away. And I want everybody to be able to do that. So I created these minis, which I think is a gateway, an entrance to allow somebody to start collecting original artwork, because the pricing on these, I have mentioned this before, I'll say it again, I keep these artificially low. When you compare it to my other artwork on the site, these are the gateway pieces. So how are these made? And I've been promoting Zero Waste Art all week, and I want to talk about Zero Waste Art too, because I consider these zero waste. They are essentially created from larger works that I decided not to list. They didn't have the look I was going for. The piece didn't succeed for whatever reason. So what I do with those large works, before I just throw them away, I try to recycle them in some way, shape, or form. And the best way, or the most creative way, that I have found to recycle these pieces is I'll take them and I'll cut them into little blocks. And then I'll creatively use those little blocks in some way, shape, or form. And the minis have just blown up. I mean, people, again, it's a gateway piece of artwork. The price is great, the pieces look great, and people love to collect them because they're, a lot of my artwork is rather large. So that is price that affects the buyer, but it also affects, well, who exactly is going to buy that piece of artwork because they need the wall space for that artwork. So these pieces, most everybody can collect them. They're very price friendly and they're small, and people tend to like to group them, like this grouping here, or they'll group a couple of these really small minis. So the difference between these minis themselves is the size alone. This is by far the smallest mini. I think this is 7 by 10 maybe. This mini is a little larger, matted on, catch the matting too. The matting's really cool. It's a double mat. This is matted on with white matting. The other two are double matted with black matting. So I think it adds just a little depth to the piece itself. So this frame is 10 by 12. This is 7 by 10. And then I'm producing a series of longer pieces. I think this is 15 by 30. This piece itself is pretty cool, and I'm going to be playing around. I thought this was interesting. Right before the pandemic hit, the New York Times had a travel section, and I love reading that section of the paper because it allows me to travel without actually traveling. So what I did is I would take sections from the travel section. So this piece is all composed of the travel section in one way, shape, or form, and then I put it together. So I start these pieces, and then what happens? The pandemic hits, and the New York Times stops printing the travel section. So, oh well, there's not many of these because of that. Hopefully when they start printing the travel section again, I'll be able to produce more travel series. So right now I think I have 3, and this one actually will be listed today. So take advantage of it because there's not many of them around. So that's, I guess, the mini in a nutshell and what I wanted to capture today. The difference between the two minis from the two different sites. The Surface Design site carries printed minis. They are all hand-signed and limited to, I think it's 2 or 5, I forget. And then the MatthiasStudio.com, these minis are all original. There's nothing printed on that site. More or less, everything is original in one way, shape, or form. And I decided to do that because I wanted to knock out the limited edition prints. I want people to collect original artwork. So I'm doing that by living works. So I go into the works themselves once they have been printed, so no one work is exactly the same. Or I create these minis and artificially keep the prices low for you. So I think that's it for this week. I'll see you next Saturday.